Yeah, and I'm down in the Henry House.
A very good morning. By way of introduction, I'm Rel Hewitt, Deputy Lieutenant of Derbyshire and also President of Ashbourne Road British Legion, and it's a great honour to be here this morning. May I welcome our VIPs this morning, the Earl of Shrewsbury, Civic Leader of Derbyshire County Council, the Mayor of Ashbourne, their consorts, the British Airfields Conservation Trust members who've organised today, and we thank them very much indeed. In the Second World War, Winston Churchill, our leader, said that we were the only nation ever to send men to war with a smile on their faces. And I can see the smile on faces continues to this day, some 80 years plus since that event, and to be here on this remarkable site that still exists in Ashbourne and Derbyshire, it is truly remarkable, and the event of today is just spectacularly good in my opinion. So I'll now hand over to Kenneth, who wants to say a few words from the British Airfields Conservation Trust. Over to you, Kenneth.
Thank you very much. Well, good morning everyone, and thank you so much for coming. My name is Kenneth Bannerman. I'm the head of the Airfields of Britain Conservation Trust, which is the world's first national airfield charity. We also call ourselves by our initials ABCT, and we've an extremely popular 3,500 pages website. And we formed in 2006. So we're delighted to be here today. This will be the third memorial we've unveiled in as many days here in Derbyshire. We unveiled two others during Friday and Saturday at Burniston, the Toyota car factory, and yesterday at Ashbourne, Darley Moor Airfield's parent airfield. So it goes without saying that Darley Moor Airfield and all who served here are incredibly important and always will be for everything they've done. To give you a quick history of the airfield and just why this matters at a bigger picture level, Darley Moor had a bit of a complicated run-up to opening. Records indicate that the authorities were trying to open the airfield during 1942, but there's one telling phrase in an official document at the National Archives in London whereby they talk about the proposed satellite for Ashbourne Airfield, i.e. they were trying to get it open but it just wasn't readied. So the airfield eventually opened during June 1943. This is confirmed in the records of number 42 Operational Training Unit that was headquartered at Ashbourne. So enough to say this place and everyone who served here played an absolutely vital part in the winning of World War II. I mean, I won't actually go into all the details about history for obvious reasons, but it's amazing the facts you can find. Like, for example, there was an escaped Italian prisoner of war who tried to fly off in the aircraft from here in January 1944, and he was lucky to be apprehended. The aircraft that flew from here tended to be more aircraft such as Avro Ansons and Airspeed Oxfords. There were also, during 1944, Airspeed Horsa gliders brought in for flying training. And the flying carried on until February 1945, when the OTU was running down, and personnel, slightly coincidentally, were then posted to an Essex airfield called Matching, where, strangely enough, we unveiled one of our similar memorials only last October. So there was a bit of chopping and changing with personnel, and then one or two plans fell through. But then come the end of the war in Europe, Darley Moor as well as Ashbourne were handed over to number 28 Maintenance Unit, MU, for munition storage, storing bombs. And this carried on until both airfields closed in August 1954. After that, Darley Moor still remained in the news. Now, naturally, Eddie would be the person to absolutely confirm this, but from our own private research, certainly towards the end of the 1950s, there was talk about some kind of motor sport here anyhow. And then, as is not unknown, of course, motorcycle sport eventually started from April 1965. So between all the tremendous work being done here with sport, not forgetting the flying just down at the southern end of the airfield with Airways Air Sports, this is still a hugely relevant place for all of us. And therefore we must never ever forget about not just Darley Moor Airfield, but all the tremendously dedicated and brave people who served there. Sadly, of course, so many people have left us. And this is how it's in life in general. If you'll just pardon me now, just a very quick personal note. Unfortunately, today is the 9th anniversary of my mum's death. I lost her in dreadful circumstances this morning. So, of course, I'm absolutely delighted to be here, and it's all about duty too, just like our families. So just once I get everything done here, I've then got to head up via Glasgow to Inverness, as you can appreciate, to attend to her grave. But why I say that in a more general note is that, of course, we should be regarding places like Darley Moor and everyone who served here as if they were family and friends. They've done so much for us, right from World War II right up to this present day. As we simply say for the charity, jobs, facilities, services. We cannot remotely afford to lose Britain's airfields, whether they are active or, like say here at Darley Moor, at least in a general flying sense, disused, because they are the most tremendous forces for good. But very sadly, pretty much since airfields first appeared in Britain, way back in 1909, very sadly, so many of them have not been at all treated well. And therefore, again, this is this comparison with family and friends and everything. You know, we really should be doing so much better to properly acknowledge and respect them, like ABCT, for our part, is trying to do. I mean, suffice to say, we are not a talking shop with what we do with the charity. We are making a real difference in advancing and helping society for the betterment of all of us, as it should be for all of us. That goes without saying. And therefore, just before I pass over to His Lordship, again, thank you so much for attending, and we're absolutely delighted to be able to unveil this memorial to yet another of Britain's absolutely priceless historical and physical assets, and remembering to all the very dedicated and brave people who served there, and of course their families as well. In this case, the one and only Darley Moor Airfield. Thank you all very much.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, I now invite the Earl of Shrewsbury and Kenneth Bannerman to unveil this wonderful memorial.
Just in case it's just lifting off the cover. That's what we need to do.
If I could just say a very few words. I'm not very good at speaking at the moment, I'm afraid. So if I start coughing fit, please bear with me. But thank you for inviting me here today. I only live just over there, so this is almost home from home. I know Don Ryder very well indeed, and I have done for many years, and I applaud the work that both he and all his colleagues have put to this great place up here to keep it going for so long, and for the great success that it's achieved and continues to achieve. I'm very privileged indeed that you should invite me to come along and jointly with Mr. Bannerman unveil this, and I thank you for that. So without further ado,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
In a moment, ladies and gentlemen, we will pay homage to those who made the ultimate sacrifice, some from this airfield. But interestingly, part of the Royal British Legion's work in Ashbourne is to care for the Commonwealth War graves, and I'm delighted to have with us this morning one of my colleagues, Anne Smith, who does the work, and I think it's very appropriate on a morning like this, as we unveil this memorial, that we're able to recall and remember those who are buried in Ashbourne, some of who will have served on this very, very site. So over to Anne.
Good morning, everybody. Bear with me while I get my words. As Brel says, my name is Anne Smith. I'm a member of the Ashbourne British Legion. I'm actually ex-Navy, and I'm also with the Commonwealth War Graves Commission. As part of the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, two of us are responsible for actually cleaning the headstones of service personnel that were killed in either the First or the Second World War. This is part of the eyes-on, hands-on scheme that the Commonwealth War Graves have implemented, and we've had to have quite extensive training on this. Amongst the graves in the Ashbourne Cemetery that we care for are 12 aircraftsmen who are all buried together in sort of one area. Some of these men were killed when their aircraft actually crashed after a training exercise just outside Ashbourne. As well as the Royal Air Force Volunteer Reserve, there are service personnel from the Royal Canadian Air Force and the Royal New Zealand Air Force. We are currently working with the Ashbourne Cubs. These young people have been helping us to clean the graves, and they've also adopted a grave. And along with their families, they're actually looking into the history of the servicemen. And this is an ongoing project, and the information that they've found out is astonishing, and the information that they are still finding out. Every year at Remembrance, myself and other members of the Royal British Legion Ashbourne branch place a cross on every war grave. At Christmas, a wreath is placed alongside that cross. We always consider it a great privilege to look after and care for these graves. It's always more poignant when the person is from another country. We hope that the families of these aircraftsmen especially, and all the other service personnel, can take comfort in that a relative is being cared for and they'll never be forgotten. Thank you.
Take the load so you can get rid of Richard.
In a moment I shall recite the immortal words from Binion's poem to the fallen, and that will be followed by the last toast, 2-minute silence in Reveille, and then the Kohima words. So may I invite you to be upstanding first. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. I'm sure that quite a number of people would like to take photographs with the principals standing behind the memorial. So may I invite you, the principals, to come forward, and anybody else who would like to be in the photograph, please. And thank you. That concludes this morning's event. Thank you very much indeed.
Martin, you want to go?